Hello, everyone. My name is Tabitha Butcher, and I am the manager of community programs at the Marion County Board of Developmental Disabilities. I brought some self-advocates with me here today so they can help share their stories, and they will introduce themselves now.
My name's James Oakley. I've been a self-advocate about 3 or 4 years now. And I've had fun.
Hi, my name is Terry Quarter. I have been a self-advocate since 2019.
Hi, I'm Lee Butcher. I have been a self-advocate since 2011, and I have done several things as a self-advocate. I have been on all our self-advocacy groups as president, one time on another, and now I'm on a state board for OSDA, the Ohio Self-Determination Association.
So now I'd like to have each person share their story and explain a little bit about their life living with a disability. James,
Who goes first?
James, would you like to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, living life with disabilities is sometimes hard. Some people say to me that I have disabilities, and some say I don't.
So I think that's a good point to make, is that just because you can't see somebody's disability doesn't mean that it's not there.
Yeah.
So somebody might not be able to see it with their eye, but they might need that a little additional support just to help them be successful.
Yeah.
Some people have visible disabilities and invisible disabilities.
Right.
I always believe that everybody who is born with one kind of disability or another.
That's right. Nobody is perfect. We all have something that that could have been an obstacle for us in our lives. So, James, have you ever felt that somebody has discriminated against you?
A little bit, but I understand where it was coming from a little bit. But like I know I have disabilities. Uh, but I need help sometimes to make sure I get things done right. And
Okay. So, Terry, could you tell me a little bit about your past experience of when you were discriminated against?
Oh yeah. It was a speech teacher in 12th grade. She assumed because I was blind that I could not read. She assumed because I was blind that I was just mentally incapacitated. And I had to sit and explain to her, no, just because I'm blind, I can still read. I can understand what you were trying to tell me. And I wasn't mean to her about it. I was kind and We had a long discussion about different disabilities, and I seemed to break through to her. The rest of the year, she was more patient, understanding, and I even told her, I said, ma'am, even you yourself is born with some kind of disability. And she said, you know, you're right, because when I was born, I had a lazy eye. And I said, well, in one way or another, that is a disability. You had to have it corrected, right? And she said, oh, yes, I had to have that corrected. And I didn't deal with it in a rude way. I was kind to her. And that went a long way to move that relationship.
So communication is so very important.
Very.
Yes. And I think the long-term saying of don't judge a book by its cover can attest to your story here.
Very.
Exactly.
Yes. And people shouldn't just assume, even if you think you might know, there's always something else that you could learn. And especially in Terry's case. So Terry, I think you hit a little bit on it, but how can people help? How can people communicate with people with disabilities?
It just takes patience, understanding that all disabilities have their own way of communication. Um, I know a guy at where I go at Rise, and is blind, and his way of communicating and my way of communicating are very different. And all it takes is patience and a willing to want to.
Understanding one another is the best way to people out to understand them and talk to them and get to know the
Oh,
person.
oh yeah.
So Lee, how do you think that somebody can communicate with us better? And you touched just a little bit on it. Would you like to go into more detail?
Respect the person, talk to them like you want to learn about them, show interest in the person. Don't just yell at them or holler at them if they're in trouble. Ask them what's going on. Be like almost like a friend, try to learn to become friends with the person, but not become a close friend, understanding of people with disabilities. We all like just a normal, talking like a normal person, and we like to be treated like a normal person, even if we do have a disability. Like for me, when growing up, I had an invisible disability. I had a learning disability, but I got hurt on the job. Now I have a physical disability. I'm in a wheelchair. And when you asked about just being discriminated, I was living in a nursing home, and they told me you only can stay in this one spot outside in this middle of the sun. There was no shade. I wanted to go down to a shady spot, and they said, no, you can't. I said, watch me. I'm physically able. I have no means of hurting no one. I just wanted to get out of the sun, direct sunlight. I wanted to be in the shade. I'll still be on the property. Can I please go down there? And the nurse said, if you go down there, so I was raising my voice and yelling at her. I wanted to get out of the sun. She told me if I don't calm down, she would give me a needle shot and calm me down. I told her if she shoot me with a needle, I want to sue this place and own it. So you are hurting me physically. I'm not doing nothing wrong. I just wanted to get into a shady spot. And now everyone in that nursing home can go down to that spot I was. They can roll up and down the parking lot and have more freedom just because I stood up to the nurses, telling them I'm not disabled mentally. I just wanted to be a normal person, and I'll stay on the property. I wanted to be in the shade. But by standing up to the people there, all the other residents now are allowed to do stuff like that. So I help out the other residents by standing up to being intimidated against because I was in a wheelchair, living in a nursing home. And now I live in my own place with a roommate, help of the county board, give me help, and now I'll be able to do it.
Perfect. So I think that that what you're saying is that sometimes we need just a little bit of extra support, and then we can be out on our own and living successful, productive lives just like everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now I'm able to work in the community, back doing the job I used to do when I was hurt, but now I can do it in a wheelchair as a custodian. I was got hurt on the job, and now I'm able to do the same job, but not as much as I was when I was able to walk.
So Lee, do you feel that sometimes people think that you can't do things because you're in a wheelchair?
Yes, and I like to prove them wrong about it too, because I said you can't do it. They watched me, and they surprised. I showed a guy I could use a machine. The guy was having a problem using the janitorial machine. I said, "Watch this. I'm in a wheelchair, and I can use it one-handed." And he was amazed because I taught him how to use the machine one-handed. It's because you're in a wheelchair doesn't mean you can't do the job. Just have to do it a different way.
Exactly. So say somebody.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Well, when I was in school, I had an ISP, and well, I wasn't like really good at first in school. I had a learning disability, and well, by 11th and 12th grade, I got out of classes that were how should I say it, like helping me, but like I was doing stuff on my own and passing, like math. I took the hardest math and passed it. So
Oh, wow.
That's wonderful.
yeah.
So what you're saying is that people thought that you weren't capable of doing it, and then you showed them that you could do it.
Yeah, and I was never into school till I was maybe like 9.5.
Okay.
And I had trouble my first few years and stuff.
Okay. Great.
May I
Um,
ask something?
sure.
Sometimes we, as this is like with Lee's story, he carved a path, he carved a way for others, for other people in the nursing home to use the shaded spot. And sometimes that's what we have to do. Like, well, for me and for my story, she, that same teacher had another blind kid, another blind student the year after me, after I graduated. And this blind student, who is my best friend, didn't have no trouble whatsoever.
So you carved a path as well.
Yeah.
So, um, so I think this really covers such a broad topic of communication and all working together for the benefit of people with disabilities. So say you have somebody that's working with somebody with disabilities, and that person isn't quite understanding what's being told to them. What can they do to help them understand better?
You can sit down and talk to the person and get to know the person on a personal standpoint, and learn how they handle stuff in their life, and then you can tell them how you handle in your life. But you can cooperate and learn about each other.
So what about those three different ways of learning that we do in our self-advocacy program, Lee?
You mean how they do through the project fair training?
Yes.
First, we tell you about our disability. Then we show you about disability through like a role play or a script. And then we learn about it together by doing a hands-on activity.
Yeah. So we try to do every different way that we can to help people understand, because we all know that everyone learns differently. So by doing that and showing people and rephrasing things, just getting down to our level and really getting an understanding of us is going to be really helpful and beneficial.
To talk to the person and get to know them. Just don't say we see what you've done and we want to just demonstrate what you have done, not what you can do and what you want to do in the future.
Exactly.
Maybe show them an easier way.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything else that you guys want to add?
It also helps to have patience, because I know with other things I've gone through, it also helps to have the patience to, sit quietly and maybe go through it, maybe step by step.
You are absolutely right. And I feel like if people just hold your hand a little bit and be supportive and patient,
Oh, yeah.
and then all the barriers and obstacles will just drop away.
You can also look online and you'll be able to find a site called osda.org. And it's a state representative people with disability board. And you can learn a lot about people with disabilities with that board, and so virtual trainings they're working on doing, learning about people with disabilities, and check that out, and they'll be able to help people with this, learn about people with disabilities through that board. So they work with people at the state level, learning about people with disabilities.
All right. Well, I hope that this has helped you guys see a little bit more into the lives of people with disabilities. And hopefully you have a little bit better of an understanding of how people want to be treated, how we have to kind of manage in life and to be successful and live productive lives. And then if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, thank you for having us.
Hi there, my name is Nikki Workman, and I do the communications at the Marion County Board of Developmental Disabilities. And I just wanted to thank all of you for your time and your interest in learning more about how to communicate and better understand the developmental disability population. It was great to hear from those that we serve. And I hope that you did learn a little bit. Really, the most important thing to remember is that people are just people, and they all consume information and understand in different ways. So it is very important for us as community members to just be mindful of the fact that there may be people in our community that have developmental disabilities. And as you could see by those who spoke, you really cannot tell by looking at people whether that is the case, but you can usually figure it out just by communicating. So slowing down, saying things in a few different ways, and just trusting the fact that communication works. So I hope that you learned a little bit. And if you have further questions, you can reach out anytime to me. I can be reached at the County Board of DD. My phone number is 740-375-6112. And my email is nworkman@marioncountydd.org. We have a Facebook page where you can learn about the people that we serve, and that is just Marion County Board of Developmental Disabilities. We have a Twitter account and a LinkedIn. You're welcome to follow us there to learn more as well. But I hope you learned a little bit of something, and this exhausted the training that you needed. And we hope to see you next year.